it's Mary. Today I will be filming my wrap-up for May and June. As I said in my previous video, I didn't film a wrap-up for May because I had not read a lot of books and I was predicting that I wouldn't read a lot in June as well, and that's exactly what happened. I did read some books, mostly non-fiction, mostly about parenting or education, so this wrap-up will be very brief, I hope. I always say that one day I will do, you know, a parenting sort of education video dedicated to those types of books, so that I can maybe talk a little bit more about that for those that are interested. But yeah, I don't know what happened these past 2 months. I have been caught up with articles online about everything that's going on, and also less serious stuff like YouTube sort of binge watching of all sorts of videos. I actually got caught up in something very helpful to me, which is studies on narcissism and just the narcissistic sort of type of the spectrum, and this, you know, those sort of videos really helped me because I had growing up I was in contact with narcissistic people. I won't, you know, be too specific about that, but knowing this sort of perspective really changed my view of even my childhood a little bit. So yeah, that was very helpful, and it took a large portion of the months, I would say. So yeah, let's start with the books. I think I'll go in the order in which I read them. The first 2 books, which I feel like I read ages ago now, are the last 2 books in the Neapolitan novels, in the Neapolitan series by Elena Ferrante, the first of which is My Brilliant Friend, which probably you're all sort of familiar with. And it's the story of 2 main characters. The main protagonist, actually, she is called Lenou, and she's the one telling the story. She's writing from a perspective, you know, a distant sort of perspective, because she's older, you know, she's like 60 when she starts writing, and she goes back to tell her childhood and the close relationship that she had with her friend Lila. And I really enjoyed this series overall. I would say, obviously being the 3rd and the 4th, I will not say anything about the plot, but I would say maybe the 3rd one, which was Story of Who Stays God. Okay, I will put the books here, the English titles there, but I would say the 3rd one is the more sort of political one, in which the girls, well, not the girls, Lenou is at university, and she starts, you know, her life basically as an adult, and it was very interesting, but probably the least engaging, I would say. The more the slower one, which actually was a breath of fresh air, because I needed some, you know, some more slow narrative to go on with the books. Otherwise I would have read them in like a day. And although I like reading books quickly because they give you this this feeling of just wanting to read all the time, but also I want to spend more time with the characters and with the story, so that it sticks in my mind more. So I appreciated this one, and the last one was great. I gave 5 stars to the 2nd one, which is still my favorite, but the 4th one, which was Story of the Lost Child, I believe, it was just a perfect ending to this series. I think I fell in love with Elena Ferrante basically after reading this series. I plan on reading every book that she put out, and I just crave to know more about her in general as a person, because I think she's very interesting, and I do believe that a lot of these novels are drawn from her personal experience, although obviously nobody can tell, but it's just a feeling that I have. And so the last book was so good, but again, I feel like I can't really talk about that because obviously it's the first book in a series. I highly recommend this series anyway, and I can't wait to actually check out more of her works. Then I finished a book that I have been reading for quite some time, which is, this is an Italian translation, but I believe the original one is in English, and it's okay, this is weird because usually you have the original title, which makes me think that probably it's not translated from a single volume, but I'm not really sure. I think the original one is called like Parent Effectiveness Training, like PET, which sounds like a course, which sort of is, because Thomas Gordon, which is the author of the book, is actually doing these sort of courses. Oh, he was actually, so I understand that it doesn't sound like the best book to be reading, but again, I don't want to dive too much into parenting and education stuff, but this was very good. I think it was very useful, but probably for children that are a little bit older, I would say. Like if you have a toddler, this probably will be more useful in the future, although if you have a teenager, it's probably too late again. So I think in between, toddlerhood and just growing up, it would be useful to read, but just probably not at the beginning. So yeah, this was a good one. I agree with basically everything that he says, and the main core of the book is just how to be respectful, how to find a balance between your needs and your child's needs, knowing that everyone has their needs and they're both, they're equally important, and how to get along basically. So yeah, that was very useful and interesting. Then I read the second book in the Crazy Rich Asians series, which is China Rich Girlfriend by Kevin Kwan. I did not like this book at all. I don't know why I finished it. I pledged to myself that I would DNF books that I don't enjoy, but this one is a series. I have the third one, and I cannot for the life of me give up series. I have to accept that about me. I just couldn't. I really enjoyed the first one, and I'm keeping that. And I don't plan to keep this one, so I probably won't keep the third one as well. And I don't know, I shouldn't probably read that last one, but I think I'll try. For that last one, though, I will give, I wouldn't finish it if I don't enjoy it. So I feel like the characters just lost all their credibility and all their personalities. They would do something completely out of their characters, and I think for the sake of the story, and it's just no. And I could tell that from the very beginning, because Crazy Rich Asians is a book about these couple. She is Chinese American and he is Chinese, born in Singapore, and they meet each other at university. They fall in love. He invites her to spend the summer in China and meet the family, and she thinks, well, maybe that's a good opportunity to go back to China, and who knows if he is gonna propose. So they go, but she doesn't know that he is incredibly rich, and she finds herself thrown in the middle of all the scandals and gossips and money, and just it was a fun ride, that one, and I enjoyed the movie as well, but this one not so much. So obviously I won't say anything about the plot, but I just didn't care about anyone, and the characters that were so definite in the first book just were completely out of their nature, and I didn't like that. So no. Then I read another book about parenting, surprisingly, by Jesper Juhl, and he's Danish. So I have this book in Italian, but the original, I don't know how it's called, the original one. The English translation is No, the art of saying no with a clear conscience. I loved this book, and I wish I had read this book, I don't know, 10 years ago, because it's not really about parenting. It's about saying no because you need to say yes to yourself. And I feel like that's such a good advice for anyone, even, you know, growing up, not as a parent. So I am one that believes that saying no too often to children is wrong, because that means that they don't really understand why they just wouldn't listen to you. So if you say no all the time, obviously that one time in which is important that they don't do something, like maybe something dangerous, then they wouldn't even listen, because they're used to it, to you always saying no. So finding another way to express what you wouldn't like them to do, especially putting the focus on you. So I don't want that to happen because blah blah blah. I think it's very helpful, but at the same time, it's important for you to set limits that are true and that are definite. Don't step on the sofa with your shoes on. That's not a limit. That's a habit they have, because maybe you don't want to clean the sofa all the time. So it's your need that your child doesn't step on that because you don't want to clean, okay? But so you could find a common ground there and say you can step on the sofa if you take your shoes off. You can do that, but with your shoes off. So let's take your shoes off so that you can do that. Something like that. It's important to have limits though, because if you say yes, but you mean no, then even with your child, you're not very clear to them. Taking responsibility of your no's. Like you say, I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to throw food. Like not, oh, we don't throw food. I don't want you to throw food because I don't want it to go to waste. Being very clear about your view on that thing. Because if you're defensive and if you try to blame something else, then it's not effective. Your no is not effective. So yeah, I think that's just a small explanation. But again, I don't want to spend too much time talking about parenting books. God, that's gonna be my channel. So another book, obviously about parenting, is no, joking. This is not a book about parenting. Although I feel like as a parent, you would find this very useful. But again, I would have loved to have read this book ages ago, and it kind of ties in with the narcissism videos that I've been watching, articles that I've been reading. I'm gonna find the English title of this one, because this actually is translated from the German and is by Alice Miller. This book is very short and very effective, and it's called The Drama of the Gifted Child, The Search for the True Self. I would say like it's borderline, I don't know, self-help book, which I wouldn't categorize this as that though. I would say like more self-growth, because I think this book it was so important. For being that short, it was so good. So my only complaint would be probably that it's too short. Yeah, but it was amazing. The first like more important years of your life, which are the first like 3 years, but even the first months, how everything that happens, the way the mother especially is to the child in these instances, is what builds everything else, basically what builds the life that comes afterwards. So this puts a little bit of pressure on you as a parent, saying, oh God, you know, everything that I do, everything that I say, or that how I react to things will will scar my child forever, which is in part true, in part, yeah, I don't want to put pressure. I don't think you should live with that sort of pressure, but it's important to understand that some things that you don't remember because you remove them from your brain, your body remembers. You remember. Your personality remembers them, and they haunt you for the rest of your life if you don't take care of those feelings that were maybe suppressed when you were a child, those feelings that were not being heard. They surface when you grow up, and especially when you become a parent, they surface again and they challenge you. Even if you didn't have a big trauma, but you were constantly like not taken into consideration, then you develop some sort of sense of yourself that is, you know, maybe you don't have a lot of confidence. Maybe you seek for that sort of validation when you grow up, and not always in the right ways, because you've been hurt but you don't even remember it and you couldn't heal in that instance. So you constantly live with this hurt inside you that has never been healed, and you can even find it back because it was so it's subconscious now. It's important to dig and to find your own, you know, suppressed sort of childish feelings, so that you can heal from them and be an adult that has not, you know, that does not behave like a child, basically. How we idealize our childhood and our parents, because we love them and we don't want to blame them for how we are, but ultimately we need to not do that, and to, you know, put the responsibility where it is. It says here, we're not always as guilty as we feel, but on the other hand, we're not even as innocent as we would like to think. So it's a balance that we need to find, and this means that we need to dig in our past and try and heal from our old scars. So I hope that this was clear. It's very hard to explain, but it was a very important book and I absolutely loved it. I think I'm gonna read another book by her soon, and yeah, this was a bit long, but I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think of the books that I read, and we'll chat in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!